What if I told you that the shoulder pain you feel every morning, that stiffness when you try to lift your arm, or even that sharp discomfort when reaching for something simple, is not just because you're getting older, but because your shoulders have slowly been forgotten? Most people over 60 are doing something very dangerous without realizing it. They stop moving their shoulders the right way, and over time, the joints become tight, the muscles weaken, and the pain starts to feel permanent. But here's the truth that most doctors don't clearly explain. Your shoulder is one of the most mobile joints in your entire body. It's designed to move freely, smoothly, without pain. So when pain shows up, it's usually not because something is broken. It's because something has stopped working the way it should. And if you ignore it, that small stiffness you feel today can turn into something much worse. Difficulty dressing, trouble sleeping on your side, even simple things like combing your hair or reaching a shelf can become painful challenges. I've seen people who thought they needed surgery, only to discover that their pain was coming from weak and inactive muscles that hadn't been properly used in years. And here's the good news. You don't need complicated workouts. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't even need to spend hours exercising. In fact, there are just 5 simple shoulder exercises that can slowly bring your mobility back, reduce inflammation, and most importantly, help you move without pain again. These are not random exercises you'll find on the internet. These are movements that directly target the real cause of shoulder pain after 60, stiffness, weakness, and lack of controlled movement. But there's one thing you need to understand before we begin. If you're doing the wrong exercises, or even doing the right ones incorrectly, you can actually make your shoulder pain worse. That's why in this video, I'm going to walk you through each movement carefully, step by step, so you can safely follow along at home. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what your shoulders need and how to start fixing the pain, starting today. The first thing you need to understand is that shoulder pain after 60 rarely starts with a sudden injury. It usually builds slowly, quietly, over time. Most people don't even notice when it begins. It starts with small changes, a little less movement, a little more stiffness, a slight hesitation when lifting your arm. And then one day, you realize that something as simple as reaching for a cup or putting on a shirt doesn't feel the same anymore. This happens because the shoulder joint depends heavily on regular movement to stay healthy. Unlike other joints in your body, your shoulder is not held tightly in place by bones. It relies on muscles, tendons, and small stabilizing tissues working together smoothly. When these tissues are not used properly, they begin to weaken and tighten at the same time, which creates imbalance and discomfort. One of the biggest mistakes people make is avoiding movement when they feel pain. It feels natural to protect the area, to stop using it, to rest it as much as possible. But with the shoulder, too much rest can actually make things worse. When you stop moving your shoulder, the joint becomes even stiffer, blood flow decreases, and the surrounding muscles lose strength faster. This creates a cycle where less movement leads to more pain, and more pain leads to even less movement. Another hidden problem is posture. Over the years, many people develop a forward-leaning posture without realizing it. The shoulders round forward, the upper back tightens, and the chest muscles shorten. This position puts constant stress on the shoulder joint and reduces its natural range of motion. Even if you are not doing anything physically demanding, this posture alone can slowly contribute to pain and limited movement. What most people don't realize is that the shoulder doesn't just need strength. It needs controlled, gentle movement in all directions. It needs to be reminded how to move properly. Small, simple exercises can wake up the muscles that have been inactive, improve circulation, and gradually restore flexibility. These movements don't force the joint. They guide it back into normal function. When done correctly and consistently, these gentle movements can reduce stiffness, improve coordination between muscles, and take pressure off the sensitive areas inside the joint. Over time, this creates a feeling of lightness and ease that many people haven't felt in years. The goal is not to push through pain or force big movements, but to reintroduce safe, controlled motion that your shoulder has been missing for a long time. One of the most overlooked causes of shoulder pain after 60 is weakness in the small stabilizing muscles that most people never think about. These muscles don't create big visible movements like lifting or pushing, but they play a critical role in keeping your shoulder joint properly aligned every time you move your arm. When these stabilizers become weak, the shoulder starts to move in slightly nepraval ways, creating friction, irritation, and eventually pain. Over time, this imbalance becomes more noticeable. You may feel a clicking sensation, a slight catching feeling when raising your arm, or even a dull ache that seems to come and go without a clear reason. Many people assume this is just aging, but in reality, it's often the result of muscles not working together the way they should. The larger muscles begin to overcompensate, while the smaller ones stay inactive, and this uneven effort puts extra stress on the joint. Another common issue is that people focus only on the front of the body. Daily activities like sitting, using a phone, eating, or driving all happen in front of you. This causes the front shoulder muscles to become dominant and tight, while the muscles in the back, especially around the shoulder blades, become weak and underused. This imbalance pulls the shoulder forward and slightly out of position, making every movement less stable and more likely to cause discomfort. When the shoulder is not stable, even simple actions like reaching overhead or lifting something light can feel strained. The joint is forced to work harder than it should, and instead of smooth motion, there is tension and resistance. This is why some people feel pain not only during activity, but even at rest, especially at night when lying on one side. The key to improving this is not lifting heavy weights or doing intense workouts. In fact, that can sometimes make the problem worse if the foundation is not strong. What your shoulder really needs is gentle activation of these deep stabilizing muscles. Slow, controlled movements that focus on alignment, balance, and awareness can begin to rebuild this foundation safely. These types of exercises help retrain your shoulder to move correctly again. They bring the shoulder blade into the right position, allow the joint to glide smoothly, and reduce unnecessary strain on sensitive tissues. As these muscles become stronger and more coordinated, the larger muscles no longer have to overwork, and the entire system starts to feel more balanced. With consistency, this approach can gradually reduce pain, improve confidence in movement, and restore a sense of control that many people feel they have lost over time. Another major reason shoulder pain continues after 60 is something most people never connect to it: poor circulation and reduced joint lubrication. As we age, blood flow to certain areas of the body naturally decreases, especially in joints that are not used regularly. The shoulder is one of the first places where this becomes noticeable, because it relies heavily on a steady supply of nutrients and fluid to stay smooth and pain-free. Inside your shoulder joint, there is a natural fluid that acts like a lubricant. It helps the joint move freely without friction. When movement becomes limited, this fluid is not produced or circulated as effectively. Over time, the joint starts to feel dry, tight, and resistant. This is why many people describe their shoulder as feeling rusty or stiff, especially in the morning or after sitting for long periods. This lack of circulation also affects the surrounding tissues. Muscles become less flexible, tendons lose elasticity, and small areas of inflammation can develop without you even realizing it. These changes don't happen overnight. They build slowly, which is why the pain often feels confusing. It seems to come out of nowhere, even though the process has been happening for months or years. Many people respond to this stiffness by trying to stretch aggressively or force movement, thinking it will loosen things up quickly. But when the joint is not properly warmed and lubricated, sudden or forceful movements can actually irritate it further. This can lead to more inflammation and make the pain feel sharper instead of better. What the shoulder really needs in this situation is gentle, repetitive motion that encourages natural lubrication and improves blood flow gradually. Small circular movements, controlled lifts, and slow rotations help wake up the joint. They signal your body to send more fluid into the area and increase circulation without causing strain. These types of movements act almost like oiling a hinge. At first, the movement may feel limited or slightly uncomfortable, but as you continue, the joint begins to open up. The stiffness starts to decrease and the motion becomes smoother. This is not about pushing harder. It's about moving smarter and allowing the body to respond naturally. Over time, as circulation improves and the joint becomes better lubricated, many people notice that their shoulder feels lighter and more responsive. Activities that once caused discomfort begin to feel easier, and the constant tightness starts to fade. The key is consistency and patience, giving your shoulder the regular movement it needs to restore its natural fluidity and comfort. Another important factor that keeps shoulder pain going after 60 is the way everyday habits quietly reinforce the problem without you realizing it. Most people focus only on exercises, but what you do during the rest of your day plays an even bigger role in how your shoulder feels. Small, repeated movements and positions can either support healing or continue adding stress to an already sensitive joint. Think about how many hours you spend sitting each day. Whether it's watching television, using a phone, eating, or simply resting, your shoulders are often slightly rounded forward. This position may feel comfortable in the moment, but over time it creates constant tension in the front of the shoulder, while weakening the muscles that are supposed to hold your posture upright. The longer you stay in this position, the more your body adapts to it, and eventually it starts to feel normal, even though it is placing strain on your shoulder joint. Sleeping position is another hidden contributor. Many people sleep on the same side every night, often with their shoulder compressed under their body weight for hours. This can reduce blood flow, irritate sensitive tissues, and increase stiffness by morning. You may wake up feeling tight or sore and assume it's just part of aging, when in reality it's a result of how the shoulder is being positioned for long periods during sleep. Even the way you use your arm during simple tasks can make a difference. Reaching suddenly, lifting objects with poor control, or repeatedly using the same movement pattern without variation can slowly irritate the joint. Over time, these small stresses add up, especially if the shoulder is already weak or stiff. The body doesn't get a chance to recover, and the discomfort becomes more consistent. What makes this challenging is that these habits are automatic. You don't think about how you're sitting, how your shoulders are positioned, or how you're moving your arm during the day, but your shoulder feels it every time. This is why some people continue to experience pain even when they try exercises, because the rest of their daily routine is still working against them. The solution is not to completely change your lifestyle overnight, but to become more aware of these patterns and make small adjustments. Sitting a little more upright, gently pulling your shoulders back, changing your sleeping position, or supporting your arm properly when resting can all reduce unnecessary stress on the joint. These small changes create an environment where your shoulder can start to recover instead of being constantly irritated. When you combine these simple daily corrections with the right exercises, the improvement becomes much more noticeable. The shoulder is no longer fighting against your habits and instead begins to respond more positively to movement and recovery. The final piece that many people overlook is consistency. Not intensity, not speed, not doing more and more exercises every day, but simply showing up for your shoulder in a consistent and gentle way. This is where real, lasting improvement happens, especially after the age of 60. Your body responds best to regular, repeated signals that it is safe to move again. A common mistake is expecting quick results. Many people try a few exercises for a couple of days, don't feel immediate relief, and then stop. But the changes happening inside your shoulder take time. Muscles need to gradually regain strength, joints need to relearn smooth movement, and circulation needs to improve step by step. When you stay consistent, even with small efforts, these changes begin to build on each other. Think of it like this. Your shoulder has spent months or even years moving in a limited, stiff pattern. It cannot completely change in just a few days. But with daily practice, even just a few minutes, you begin to retrain your body. The joint starts to feel more familiar with movement, the muscles begin to respond more efficiently, and the fear of pain slowly decreases. Another important part of consistency is listening to your body instead of pushing against it. There is a difference between gentle discomfort and harmful pain. When you move your shoulder in a controlled way, you might feel a slight stretch or mild tension, and that is often a sign that the joint is being activated. But sharp or increasing pain is a signal to slow down, adjust your movement, or take a break. This awareness helps you progress safely without setbacks. It's also helpful to make these movements part of your daily routine, instead of treating them like a separate task. You can do them in the morning to reduce stiffness, during the day to keep your shoulder active, or in the evening to relax the joint before sleep. When exercises become a habit, they no longer feel like effort. They become part of how you take care of your body. Over time, this consistency creates noticeable changes. Movements that once felt difficult become easier. The stiffness that used to greet you in the morning begins to fade. You start to trust your shoulder again, and that confidence allows you to move more freely throughout your day. This is not about perfection or doing everything exactly right every single time. It's about staying patient, staying regular, and giving your shoulder the chance to recover at its own pace. When you do that, even small daily actions can lead to meaningful, lasting relief from pain. Before we finish, I want you to take a moment and think about something simple. Your shoulder pain did not appear overnight, and it won't disappear overnight either. But that doesn't mean it can't improve. In fact, many people over 60 have completely changed how their shoulders feel. Not by doing extreme workouts or taking endless medications, but by making small, consistent changes that their body can actually respond to. What matters now is not perfection, it's action. Even if your movement feels limited right now, even if there's stiffness or hesitation, that's okay. Start gently. Respect your body. Give it the signal that it's safe to move again. Because the moment you stop fearing movement, your recovery truly begins. Remember, your shoulders were designed to move freely. That ability is still there. It just needs to be reawakened, step by step. If you stay consistent with these exercises, if you become more aware of your daily habits, and if you allow your body the time it needs to adapt, you will start to notice changes. Less stiffness, more control, and slowly, less pain. This is not just about your shoulders. It's about your independence, your ability to dress comfortably, reach for things without hesitation, sleep without discomfort, and move through your day with confidence again. So don't wait for the pain to get worse before you take action. Start today, even if it's just a few gentle movements, because the sooner you begin, the sooner your body begins to respond.